In this video, we're going to take a closer look at the other confirmed faction for Total War Warhammer, the Human Empire. The humans are in dire straits in the Warhammer world. They are weaker and less numerous than many of their foes, but they do have access to high-level technology compared to most of the other races. The dwarves can parallel them in gunpowder, but not in numbers and share production capabilities. So, the Empire, let's see, that's the wrong screen. The Empire is divided into several provinces, and each province has some unique features. I'm not going to go into detail about each of them for now, it would take too long. But the provinces are Nordland, Midland, Middenheim, Altdorf, Reichland, Nuln, Wissenland, Averland, the Moot, Sturland, Talabekland, Ostermark, Ostland, Hochland, and Talabheim, if I didn't say that one already. There are numerous cities, towns, and villages within this map. Now, the Empire is in a precarious position. It is somewhat shielded by the dwarves, but there are Skaven tunnels under the entire Empire, and frequent greenskin incursions. Kislev guards the borders against chaos, but it's usually only a matter of time before the Kislevites have to concede defeat and the forces of chaos roll into the Empire. So the special thing about these different provinces is that each of them sort of have their speciality in warfare. So to name a few of the most commonly known, in Reichland, that's where the Emperor lives. He is a very understandably, the Reichland has access to some decent infantry, decent cavalry. In Nuln, they have the best engineers, so they have access to better siege equipment. In Midland, we have the Knights of the White Wolf, and in Hochland we have some very good skirmish troops wielding long rifles that can pick off units at range. So there are different specialities within each of these provinces, and I hope to see that reflected in the game. So the Empire is not a single faction. It's several. It's an empire with several factions that will each have their not autonomous rule, but close to it. And for infantry, the Empire has access to your standard human infantry types. You have sword infantry, you have spear infantry, you have halberd infantry. The special thing about them, though, is that they can have detachments. And detachments are smaller units on each side of the main formation that can countercharge any charging units or support in a charge, and they can even have skirmish weapons, so they're able to fire at incoming enemies. And that's very useful because the normal human troops are not very good in close combat compared to a lot of the other troops they face. But if they can get some help from the flanks, suddenly things start to look a lot better. Then we have great swords. Great swords have a trait called stubborn, which makes them harder to break in combat. They also have better armor than the dirt cheap state troops, and they have great swords, which greatly increases their killing power in combat. They can also have detachments, which helps them a lot. You have some special units like Warrior Priest of Sigmar wielding warhammers, wearing good armor, flagellants, religious fanatics who are flagellants. Religious fanatics, they are the main reason you bring flagellants is because they have to be killed to be removed from the table, and their combat potential is comparable to that of other troops, but they have some very funky looking models. This guy is going to bash people over the head with a book, this guy's head is on fire, this guy is running around with his hands and head stuck in a piece of wood, so I have no idea what he's going to do. Probably try to bite people like a zombie. So the main strength of the Empire, not in the strength of each man himself, but in the strength of the army combined. And when we're talking about the strength of the army combined, Cavalry, an integral part of that, gives the Empire mobility, gives them very durable troops. You have knights like these Reichsguard knights with very good armor, devastating charge, some knightly orders, special, unique to different provinces within the Empire. Here we have Knights of the Blazing Sun. We also have Knights of the White Wolf, Knights Panther. We have the Demigryph Knights, the only monstrous cavalry available to the Empire, and it's a very heavily armored, beastly cavalry unit. Then we have the Pistoliers, fast cavalry with the ability to fire with pistols at close range, which hurts a lot. Pistols are armor piercing and have a good chance to put down most man-sized models in the game, also to inflict wounds on beasts. Same thing with the Outriders here with their repeater handguns. They can lay down a withering hail of fire against anything that comes close enough, and they are fast enough to stay out of trouble. So the Empire has not the best cavalry in the game, but fairly strong cavalry. Then we have Gunpowder, and this is where the strength of the Empire really starts to shine. They have Gunpowder cavalry, they have Gunpowder troops in the form of standard handgunners, and they also have, you can see one of the models here, he has a longer handgun, and this is a sort of a sniper rifle of the day, which there are also units from Hochland, I believe, that can use this special handgun, increased range, and pretty deadly at long range. You also have cannons, mortars, the Hellblaster volley gun, a multiple shot cannon over here. You have a Hellblaster volley gun, all kinds of siege weapons that, if they hit and when they work, they can do a lot of damage, but they have that uncertain element that I hope CA brings to Total Warhammer, where they can misfire and they work less well in rain, since they are using old school gunpowder. And then we have War Machines, and we have the Luminarch of Hysh and the Celestial Arcanum. These give either an increased chance to hit in close combat, or give a ward save, so a magical armor save to units within their radius. They can also be ridden by wizards, and one of them, they can shoot magical missiles on enemy troops. I think these are a bit too weird for CA to put them in the game, but of course it will be nice if they do. Here we have the Grand Theogonist of Sigmar riding on a War Altar of Sigmar, and using this, an otherwise puny character can do a lot of damage to enemy lords, heroes, because the Empire's lords are not the strongest in the game by a long shot, but this is one of the things that can be used to challenge enemy lords, heroes to duel, and then have them smashed in their face by the War Altar. Then you have the steam tank that has a cannon in its front. It runs on steam, so it's a bit unstable, fairly durable. Also has a steam weapon it can use to fry units with steam. So the War Machines of the Empire, pretty powerful stuff. Then we have Skirmishers, and they have access to Free Company archers that are in loose skirmish formation. I forgot to mention it, but the Free Company is also available for them as infantry. Cheap irregulars with two-hand weapons. They also have crossbows, good range, armor penetration, good chance to put dents in armor and to penetrate it. Also to wound beasts and such. Very useful against flying units, for example. Long range. They also have your standard archers and a fairly good selection of long-range troops. Again, they are not the strongest in the game, but they are good and they are relatively cheap. So with the Empire, you get a nice selection where the sum of each unit is greater than the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. That's not right. It's late here. I forgot how the saying goes. But the Empire's armies, it's different constituents work together to create a very dynamic and flexible army that, while not being the best at anything, is decent at most things. And huge beasts, dragons, ogres, formations of Chaos Warriors become a lot easier to defeat for the Empire when they have been softened up at range by magic, a bit of shooting, a bit of gunfire, a few shots from a Hellblaster volley gun. So the Empire will play a bit like a late era faction in Medieval 2, I think, with access to better gunpowder units, while also being no slouches in the cavalry department. And I foresee that units like Pistoliers and Outriders, if they're indeed in the game as they should be, can be supremely annoying to deal with. Gunpowder cavalry with multiple shots could be very, very lethal. So quite looking forward to see how the Empire turns out, and especially with the different provinces, because then you essentially have a single faction with multiple sub-factions within that faction that allows you to bring a bit of variety and have essentially more flavor to what could otherwise just be a single big faction. So I think splitting them up like that is a smart move by the Creative Assembly. I didn't talk about magic. I'll talk about magic in another video because that is a pretty big topic, but the Empire has access to mages as well. Strength and honor.